Hello everyone, my name is Abby Milligan. This is my project for FCS 302. My project is titled How Consumers Can Wisely Choose Products to Purchase, and I felt that this was an important topic because we are consumers and there's many products on the marketplace nowadays, so it's getting harder to be able to find which is the best one. So our objectives for this lesson is to learn your rights as a consumer, to learn to research and compare brands and products, to learn to avoid scams and knockoffs, and also learn what it takes to make a best buy. So why we need to consider before we buy. So as I stated before, there's currently more choices than ever on the marketplace. It's also important to avoid being ripped off by brands that are out to steal your money, basically. It's also important to support those products and brands that are supporting us as consumers and are reliable constantly. It's important to get the best out of your hard-earned cash. We all work really hard for our money, and thus we should buy products that reflect that. So my first point is to know your right as a consumer. We as consumers have implied warranty. A warranty, if you don't know, is basically a guarantee. It's a written or oral assurance by the seller of the property that the goods or the property is of the quality represented or will be as promised. So in basics, it's that the product that you are getting is what it was when they advertised it on television, or it meets the satisfaction that it promised you. So there's many kinds of warranties or of implied warranties. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is warranty of merchantability. And this means that consumers have the right to expect that the product is reasonably fit for the ordinary purposes for which the goods are expected to be used. So basically, if you have a vacuum, it should vacuum. It shouldn't sweep or something like that. Or if you have a blender, it should blend your fruit. It shouldn't explode on you or something like that. Warranty of fitness for a particular purpose. So with this one, it implies that basically the seller is presumed to know the particular purpose for which the buyer is purchasing the goods and knows that the buyer has relied upon the seller's knowledge. So this is just basically guaranteeing that you are well informed about what the product is and that the person selling you the product has rightfully informed you. And this is really important with things such as contracts and just your basic big agreement things. Your express warranty rights. So express warranties are covered both by statutory and common law. These express warranties basically set out to meet a specific assurance, kind of. They're statements that specify the name and address of the warrantor and make sure that the product's parts are covered. So it's basically where you can go directly to the source of the person selling it to you. And this is common with things like the PCs that you build yourself, and if someone's selling you like a custom made, well, really anything, you know their address, you know their phone number. If something messed up, you can go to them directly, and if it goes to court, you have their information directly. I didn't list it here, but President Kennedy's Consumer Bill of Rights is also a large part in establishing our right as a consumer. It was written up in 1962, and basically it lays down kind of our rights as consumers, and it's been confirmed and held up by presidents after Kennedy. So Kennedy basically established that we as consumers have the right to choose, we have the right to safety, and the right to be informed, and the right to be heard. And this is basically giving us power against big corporations and whatnot. So going with the first one, we have the right to choose. There's not just one brand for every product. We have the right to safety, so the products that we purchase shouldn't hurt or kill us or put us in any type of danger. We have the right to be informed. So this one's important because this means that we have the right basically to have all the information we can on a product, and we should know if something is wrong with the product or goes wrong, or there's a later side effect found in it with things such as like medicine. We as consumers have the right to know to keep ourselves safe. And the last one is the right to be heard. And that one is especially important because lots of times it can feel like we don't have a voice, but we as consumers do have a voice, and it's important to give our feedback and tell the companies what is wrong with their product or how great their product is, and to raise concerns if that product is not fulfilling the requirements and the needs that it promises to fulfill. As consumers, on top of rights, we have responsibilities ourselves. We obviously have to be careful where we buy products from, as we don't want to give money to shady sellers who are basically looking out to scam people. We need to learn how to comparison shop. There's lots of products on the market, and it would be a waste just to go with the same thing every time just because it's a brand name. We also shouldn't settle for unsatisfactory products. We should expect the best from what people are selling. It's their jobs basically to support us and satisfy us as the consumers. It's also our responsibility to find sellers who support our consumers' rights. We really want to find respectable sellers to give our money to, because those are the ones who are looking out for us and are really trying to get us the best product possible for the best price. On top of that, we ourselves also need to be honest, of course, when dealing with sellers. We need to recognize that we have ecological consequences with our actions and our buying actions. And we should encourage sellers basically to enhance access to choices for all consumers. So within our marketplace, especially within the growing of technology, there has been a choice and information overload. So every day there's information and products released. Over 2,500 new products are introduced each year. So this obviously makes decision making extremely hard. Most consumers struggle to process all the information given on products. So this usually leads to us buying more name brand things or the first object we see instead of really doing our research into it. One solution to this is researching brands. So when you're researching brands, the most reliable source of information is Consumer Reports. This website and company, they buy products and they put them through extensive testing in order to guarantee quality. They list basically all the good things and all the bad things about the product given. This site is extremely reliable as they're not afraid really to criticize large brands. They don't really show a bias. They've even been sued before, but have constantly won cases for being truthful when it comes to larger products and whatnot. On top of that, there's other sites that you can check out like CNET and Opinions and Consumer Reviews. These ones are still nice sites, but they're not as reliable as Consumer Reports. So, searching and comparing brands. So, you need to find brands basically that carry what you need. Name brand items don't always guarantee the highest quality. I know it's easier to go with a household name, but sometimes you can find a better product. Checking online ratings and reviews left by other consumers is a great way to find out, especially when buying online like Amazon or eBay. It's a great way to find sellers that would be reliable. This is sometimes a hard thing to do because there is instances where sellers will pay reviewers, but usually while checking the usernames, it's very easy to see which is a fake account and which is a real account. If the username has a bunch of numbers in it and seems like it'd be really hard to remember, and it's leaving a comment that's like, wow, this is amazing, I love it, compared to all the other bad reviews, it's most likely a false review. When looking for brands, you should find ones that have advertisements of quality characteristics. Now, this doesn't always guarantee it, but if a product is constantly appearing on television and on all these other places with high quality advertisements, more likely than not, if it's being kept around this long, it's a quality product that you can trust. You should look for brands that provide warranty, especially when buying things such as a dishwasher or a car or a printer. You want one that will help you, won't rip you off with these types of expensive purchases. You also want to look for brands basically with a good reputation. I know it sounds very simple, but if you do your research, you could find some of these bigger brands may not have as good of a reputation as thought of. So, identifying and avoiding frauds. Basically, you can discover frauds by shady sellers. If they're aggressively pushing the product onto you, that is a red flag. Please be sure to check your contracts and read the fine print. This is how they get you and scam you. by having the little text at the bottom that many of us overlook. And of course, be confident with these sellers. Don't be afraid to say no or ask for more information. If they refuse to take no as an answer or are hesitant when you ask for more information on the company or the product, you're most likely going into a fraud. And then in this picture here, this is a 2017 ranking of the top frauds. So as you can see at the top, it's internet merchandise sales, and then checks, prizes, sweepstakes, free gifts, recovery refund companies, advance fee loans, phishing and spoofing, computer equipment and software, scholarship grants, people catfishing, and charitable donations. On top of scams or frauds, there's also knockoff items. So these are items that are designed to look like name brand items. So in the picture here, we have items that look closely like KFC or McDonald's or Adidas, but these items often have similar titles and names, and they're often extremely cheap and low quality. They're basically made to look similar, basically just to get your money. So we have like Adidas right there, or Pizza Time and stuff. Basically just cheaper products meant to trick you into buying them. In order to make the best purchase you can possible, you should also avoid impulse buying. So impulse buying is your unplanned spur-of-the-moment buying. It's usually exploited by putting the cheaper items near checkout. So that's when you're about to check out and you see the gum and the candy bars and the chapsticks. Usually when we eat impulse buy, it's kind of providing a momentary happiness, like, oh, I got this and whatnot. An easy solution to impulse buying is to look at the item in your hand and ask, can I really afford this, and why exactly am I buying this? Usually that'll put you back in the headspace of making the best buy that you can. Avoiding price ignorance. So price ignorance basically is companies it's being ignorant to the fact of companies adding things like free and bonus in order to raise their prices. So this is basically like your as seen on TV, where an item will be $24.99 and they will add in another version of that item, and then in the fine print it says just pay shipping and handling. So you're really not saving money and you're really paying for it, but they add this free and bonus thing in to make it seem like you're getting a deal. We should also learn that prices can change with the season. So you can get a winter coat at the end of at the beginning of summer, most likely for a really cheap price. But when you're trying to find one in the winter, the prices are most likely hiked up because there's a huge demand for these things. Also with price ignorance, this isn't always applied, but it's best to remember you pay for what you get. So basically, if you want to buy a cheap, like kind of knockoff product thinking it won't be that bad, but you're unsatisfied with the quality, you need to remember that that is what you paid for. So now I'm going to tell you about a good buy and a best buy. So a good buy consumer basically is a consumer who monitors the shopping environment around them. They basically just establish a familiarity with the brand. So So basically, they'll see a brand that they like or is well known, and they'll do their research on just that brand and whatnot. And they'll take the time to buy the product when it's at a lower price or on sale. This is the most common type of consumer. I would say I fall into this category along with most people. And it's not a bad thing, but we can be better as consumers. So, a Best Buy consumer, they take purposeful effort to compare things like models, features, and warranties along with the price. A Best Buy consumer, they understand that with a safer model and safer features and whatnot, the price may be a little bit more, but they're thinking of the safety and whatnot that comes with it. So, maximizing your satisfaction. Satisfaction basically is maximized when the willingness to trade and the ability to trade are the same. So, in basics, you're happy with a quality product that didn't waste your money. A product within budget also increases satisfaction. This sounds very simple when said out loud, but many people tend to disregard their own satisfaction when going to buy a product. I feel lots of times we'll buy a product and it won't work, or it'll basically be a ripoff, and we'll just disregard it instead of searching for that best thing that we could get. Many of us also tend to disregard our budget when buying. Um, while it's a fun culture, the treat yourself culture is growing, and that's fine when you have room to treat yourself and whatnot. But if you're barely making enough to feed yourself and clothe yourself, it may not be worth buying that video game or buying that expensive handbag, because while it will bring you momentary happiness, it won't leave you satisfied in the end, and you'll most likely regret your purchase. So, in summary, the best way to choose a product is through research. Us as consumers should not be afraid to ask questions and say no. We should all take a minute to actually consider what it is that we are buying, and to make sure to pick products that'll leave you satisfied in the end.